And joining me now, Congresswoman Karen Bass of California and Congresswoman Madeleine Dean of Pennsylvania. Both serve on the House Judiciary Committee and took part in today's hearing. And thank you both for being here. And Congresswoman Bass, I want to start with you. I want to play a moment that I thought was one of the most searing moments. It was early in the hearing. This was Congressman, your colleague, Cedric Richmond, invoking the name of John Lewis and inveighing against William Barr having done the same thing.
The one thing that you have in common with your two predecessors, both Attorney General Sessions and Attorney General Whitaker, is that when you all came here and brought your top staff, you brought no black people. That, sir, is systematic racism. That is exactly what John Lewis spent his life fighting. And so I would just suggest that actions speak louder than words, and you really should keep the name of the Honorable John Lewis out of the Department of Justice's mouth.
Ouch. Congresswoman Bass, you know, it says the honorable. It's an honorific that each of these people testifying receives when they come and testify. Did you find William Barr's testimony to be honorable today?
No, I didn't, and especially his opening testimony. And I know that that's one of the reasons why Senator Richmond said he did, because he said talking about the African American community.
I think we're having a little bit of trouble. Congresswoman, hold on one second. I think we're having a little problem with your audio, so we're going to try to fix that audio problem because I definitely want to hear what you were going to say. We're going to try to fix that audio, and I'm going to throw it over to Congresswoman Dean for the same answer. Did you find what you heard today to be honorable testimony from the Attorney General of the United States?
No, I did not. But, Joy, let me start by saying congratulations to you. And I'm going to wish you what my uncle, my dear friend, wished me every morning when I went out to work. He was a priest. I said, Walter, give me a blessing today. He said, may God grant success to the work of your hands. I wish that for you in your work in this new important assignment. The Attorney General was not honorable today. What he did was dissemble, distort, deflect, and work on behalf of a president and a political campaign. I was super mindful that we sat there today with John Lewis lying in state not more than 1,000 feet or so away from us. And what do we honor John Lewis for? His embodiment of peaceful protest, his embodiment of stand up when you see something wrong, when you see injustice, when you see inequity, you must say something. Keep your eye on the prize and get into good trouble. Imagine that he was bloodied on the bridge, and I had the privilege with my brother and my husband to travel with him to the Edmund Pettus Bridge 2 years ago and again this year. He was bloodied and beaten and knocked out and didn't know if he would make it. He was also beaten in the bus station by government forces. Does the Attorney General not see the grotesque parallels? 55 years later, here we are with these same problems. History will record the Attorney General's role and the grotesqueness of his action.
You know, and to that very point, and you talk about your uncle being a priest, and I think it's fitting then to talk about or to show your questioning of the Attorney General about the clearing of Lafayette Park, which I think is one of the darkest moments, I think, for a lot of people, so that Donald Trump could walk and do a photo op in front of St. John's Church. Here you are questioning William Barr. Let's play that back.
Is it your opinion, Mr. Barr, that clearing protesters from Lafayette Square, which local officials were told to hurry up moments before the president's photo op with a borrowed Bible in front of a church, was coincidence? Is this timing coincidence?
I believe it is, yes. As I said, I use the analogy of MacArthur at Leyte Golf.
We heard that. Thank you. I'll reclaim.
Okay, so...
Mr. Attorney General, we'll assume that that was all coincidence. In a related
I've already explained that it had been planned all day.
Attorney General, the time is mine. We've waited a long time for you to come here. The time is mine.
You've waited to talk to me like this? You didn't need to wait
when
so
asked
long.
About
You know, you had a member of the National Guard who testified that incendiary chemicals were used on, including an Episcopal priest who was part of those who were gassed and pepper sprayed there. Do you believe that William Barr lied to you under oath about what happened in Lafayette Park?
He not only lied, he doubled back. He did a backflip. I quoted him where he said it was not chemical, the pepper balls used against peaceful protesters, and we've spoken to many of them. This was a peaceful protest. If there was any kind of rioting, of course, this is not the way you would deal with rioting. This was peaceful protest. That's what everybody has said. What the Attorney General did was he said, yes, it was not chemical. No, it was chemical. I didn't mean that. He did a double backflip. He used pepper ball agents against peaceful protesters. And what I showed him was that the beauty of pepper balls is not only the chemical irritant, but the blunt force trauma. That's what he directed when he stood in that square at 6:10 and said, get it done. And there's no coincidence between the president finishing a law and order statement in the Rose Garden and walking across. What I compare him to, the Attorney General worked as an advance man on the campaign. Can you imagine the Secret Service would have thought there's some disturbance in Lafayette Square? The last thing we want is for the president to walk out the front door of the White House and across the square. This was an advance man for a political campaign, for a photo op with, as I said, a borrowed Bible, which the Episcopal bishop condemned. The Catholic bishop condemned.
And apparently he didn't have permission to borrow the Bible. It just goes on and on. I think we do have Congresswoman Karen Bass, so I believe we have you again. And I want to play for you, Congresswoman. This was your questioning of William Barr on one of the more extraordinary things that he did. He tried to refute the core thing that these protests around the country are about, and that's the idea of police abuse and deaths in police custody of black people. Here he is, and here's your questioning of him.
The number of unarmed black men killed by police so far this year is 8. The number of unarmed white men killed by police over the same period of time is 11.
The fact of the matter is 2.3 million people in the United States are incarcerated. We incarcerate 24% of the world's prisoners. 34% are black, while African Americans are just 13% of the U.S. population. So justice is still not equal, nor are our laws. And I think when we look at how many people are incarcerated or how many people are killed, it is not the numbers, it is the percentage.
You know, Congresswoman, I guess I'll ask you the same question. I mean, one presumes that the Attorney General of the United States has access to the stats and the data, and that the stats and data he attempted to present to this afternoon don't reflect what most people could find looking up on Google. Do you believe that when he came before the Judiciary Committee, William Barr lied to the Democrats who questioned him?
Oh, I think he absolutely lied, and I think he is just trying to push a racial narrative in saying, you know, it follows what the president said. Remember, a week ago, he was saying that, well, more white people are killed than black people, to minimize the fact that there is police abuse. The other thing that I was asking him about is the death of Elijah McClain, who was injected with ketamine. And I asked him, did he know anything about that? And I asked him if he would make a commitment to investigate it. But back to his insulting African Americans in his opening presentation, and he focused on us for some reason. And he basically was saying that the period of enslavement was bad, Jim Crow was bad, but ever since then, everything is fine and the laws are equal and we really don't have a problem here. And there is no systemic racism, because you know that the Trump administration is countering that to say that things are not that bad. He also did the typical thing of saying that African Americans essentially have been killed more by each other than police abuse. And you know that that is a standard old tired line that says black people only care about each other when we're killed by police and not what is going on in the community, which is a complete denial of the fact that people in the community where you do have high homicide rates work day in and day out, one, to stop the guns, and also to address the underlying community issues, which is what leads to the violence in the first place. This is just a replay of George Wallace's presidential campaign from the 1960s, and that's what Trump has adopted. And his wingman, or as Madeline said, his advance man, that's what he was pushing today. They're using the protest in Portland essentially as a prop for their commercials. But one thing I do want to point out, because this concerns me, I love seeing allies, I love seeing white allies talking about Black Lives Matter, I think that's wonderful. But when you see the violence that does happen, my concern is that it distracts from an agenda of racial equity. And I am worried that the Black people in Portland will be the ones that take the brunt of the police repression because of the protests and the violence that it is not the Black residents doing.
Yeah, indeed. Congresswoman Karen Bass, do you have any news that you want to share with us? I know that there's going to be an announcement from the Biden campaign next week. Feel free. It's just you and me here if you want to, and Congresswoman Dean. Any news to share?
I have no news, but I know in a minute you're going to have the brilliant Attorney General from the state of California on, Kamala Harris.
Yeah. And can I just take a moment of personal privilege and say to you, Congresswoman Bass, your response to people trying to pit you and Kamala Harris against each other, the sisterhood that you showed to her, it was a stand-up moment, and I was very proud of both of you. The two of you, I think, have dealt with this in a very, very big way. We appreciate it. Congresswoman Karen Bass, Congresswoman Madeleine Dean, you guys are great. Thank you very much.